Welcome to the Mischief. I'm Valen, and this is Helpful Faeries. Today I'm going to be teaching you about this lovely little mod that immersively adds in some automative helpers for you and your desires. So this mod adds in a little bit more than just fairies to help automate. Primarily, I will say farming, but it can be used for other things. First and foremost, you're going to have to find one of these, a Keptris tree. These you will probably find a little bit easier at night, as they will glow and give off kind of like a light effect in the area, making them very visible. But that aside, and the fact that they look absolutely stunning, you do have a few extra block options for you to build with, and they have, similar to glowberries, and in fact I currently have the one probe telling me in the bottom right corner that they are glowberries, but hey, you know what, it's Helpful Faeries glowberries. This is the kind of their vine effect with flowers on here. You can right click and get these flowers, and use them with a diamond to make a fairy oblation. But this will come a little bit later for how it's going to be used. First time you find one of these, you're probably going to want to harvest some of its wood so that you can make this, a Faerie Lantern. A Faerie Lantern is made with some of the Keptris logs and is used to house a fairy. Without it, they won't have a home to reside in, and you need to have that first, otherwise they're going to be a little bit confused. They will sometimes go into a Faerie Lantern as well, and can be transported once inside. But again, how do we get a fairy? Well, you need to become an arborist. And by that I mean someone who's basically going to be trying to grow a tree from another tree. And it's not as simple as just breaking the tree down and getting saplings like you would in regular Minecraft. In this case, you're going to need shears. Now, you can, as normal in more recent versions of Minecraft, use shears on the tips of vines to stop them from growing, but primarily you're going to want to aim for something a little bit higher. See the flowers up here in the actual leaf blocks? You're going to want to clip those. Once clipped, you'll get Keptris woodlings. These can be planted, but you're going to need to do a little bit more than that. You notice how this Keptris woodling is a little taller. When I plant this one, it's much smaller. You're going to actually have to take care of this little shrub. Every day, or about once a day, for 3 days, you'll need to give it a bottle of water, not a bucket, but a bottle. And you'll notice it has 2 blocks that it actually needs to grow into, so be sure that you give it enough space to grow. Taking your pair of shears, and after 3 days of caretaking, you really do come to a decision point. Do you want a sapling or do you want a fairy? Now, a sapling will allow you to actually transport this plant to another location. Right-clicking, you get a Keptris sapling, which you can then plant, and bone meal to get the giant tree, and therefore, get all the ingredients and stuff that you might need for the future, and making multiple new fairies. The other method is to use a fairy oblation to spawn a fairy from your Keptris woodling. Clicking on here, you'll create this little fairy spawn. Clicking a second time will confirm, and it creates the fairy itself. And, of course, drops a little Keptris woodling, which you can then regrow into something else. Now, assuming you have your Faerie Lantern nearby, your fairies should gather around it and more or less go in and out, similar to how bees act, but they won't go quite as far. If you find one of your fairies has been lost, don't be afraid to grab a Keptris flower, and they should start following you. Now, if you want them to actually start automating and doing tasks, you'll probably need to give them some direction. You'll need to have some sort of inventory, whether it be a barrel or a chest or something like that nearby, and to give them an idea of what you'd like them to put in there, you'll need to put a frame with the item that you want them to pick up on the outside. In this case, I've got 3 frames, one with wheat, one with wheat seeds, and one with regular potatoes. Now, I actually don't have a fairy currently collecting potatoes. So let me grab this potato here. I'm taking it off there, so currently if I click on a fairy with it, you'll see a little puff of cloud there. They'll harvest it immediately, but they don't have a home to put it. So they just pick it up, and they may end up grabbing it for themselves even. So you're going to want to be careful putting this in the frame. That gives them a location for them to store the goods and start collecting them. There we go. Helpful Faeries, as it says on the name of the tin. So you'll also notice that when fairies go into their lanterns, they actually light up. So you can break them and bring them with you. If you look here, it says 1 out of 3 is currently in there. You can also clip them on the bottom of any of the glowberries. You'll notice, though, that these fairies started wandering away quite quickly without a home. So you're going to you need to make sure that you have one of these in place first. And you can store up to 3 fairies per fairy lantern. You can have multiple lanterns in an area. You can have them all start just harvesting multiple things. So you can have one grabbing the seeds, one grabbing the wheat, one grabbing the potatoes. And just to give an idea, it doesn't have to be something that's harvested. You just throw it on the ground and they'll pick it up. I'm just giving an example of some automation. So if you have something else that's being automated and picked up, dropped into the world, whatever, you can have these helpful fairies grab that item for you. And that about does it for this lovely little helpful fairy mod in modded Minecraft. If you enjoyed this little bit by bit, please be sure to give a like, comment, subscribe, and as always, be sure to come visit us on Twitch, click the notification bell, and until next time, folks, I'll see ya.